Fantasy Footballers Sunday Live.
What's up, everybody? It's football time. Week 1, Sunday Live. Welcome in, welcome all. So much to talk about. Welcome to your once-a-week Tilt Fest, starring me, Mike the Fantasy Hitman Wright. Also starring you, because it is your questions. I mean, y'all are really the drivers of this show. If you've never joined me for Sunday Live, a special welcome to you. But, I mean, a bigger welcome to everyone who's made it back. Very, very exciting times. I am here. Brooksy is managing the levers and the pulleys back there.
Heyo.
We're trying to make sure we remember how to do this particular show. Brooks, are we doing all right?
Yes, sir. I think so.
Off to a great start.
Yeah.
So if you haven't joined us, this is the way that this show rolls. Essentially, we start out, we hit all the big news, then we jump into kind of the most prominent start-sit questions that we are getting, because all of our rankings right now, they are on thefantasyfootballers.com. In fact, we have a start-sit tool on the website that you can go plug in your 2 players. It will give you our rankings and some other really cool stuff as well, because, look, the show isn't long enough for me to break down every single player. We try and hit on like the higher level stuff here. But if I don't talk about your player or give you the help that you need, thefantasyfootballers.com, our rankings are there. We will be updating those all the way to kickoff as we're getting all the information that we possibly have. And then I will jump into the listener questions that we are receiving right now. So let's get into it.
The big picture.
I'll start with the ins and the outs, and then we'll get into weather. It's week 1, and we have weather. Build a freaking dome. It's ridiculous. These new, oh my gosh. I'm not going to start on it, Brooks, but any new stadium that doesn't have a dome, get out of my life. All right, at the running back position, Ty Montgomery for the Patriots is in. How healthy is he? That is to be determined. I know Ramondre Stevenson, not that he wasn't kind of already an exciting player he can pass Damian Harris on the depth chart because Ramondre's really, really good. But if Montgomery was out, that pass-catching role certainly seemed like it was going to be up to Stevenson. Kenneth Walker, the third, because Pete Carroll is such a gem for us for this Monday night. Kenneth Walker, who didn't practice all week, is listed as questionable for Monday night's game. Fantasy football players, thank you very much that we cannot move him into our IR and pick up another player because, Kenneth Walker's definitely going to play and be a big role coming off of that hernia surgery. Pete Carroll, you bum. J.K. Dobbins, the dunk, the Ian Rappaport dunk is finally concluded. J.K. Dobbins of the Ravens, he will miss a week. If Lamar Jackson is to be believed at all, it could, in fact, be a few weeks. If you didn't follow it through the offseason, Ian Rappaport, he had a source, which can only assume it's someone, entrenched in the Ravens locker room, came out and said Dobbins is probably going to go on the PUP to start training camp. It looks like he's not going to be ready for week 1 coming off of his devastating knee injury. And Rappaport reported that. J.K. Dobbins got soups mad about it and said, I'm going to be there week 1. Well, source 1, Dobbins 0. Look, we want Dobbins back. We want him recovered. We want him good to go. It won't be this week. And Tyler Algier, rookie running back for the Atlanta Falcons, he is out. I've got some questions about this. What's going on there? Look, he's a day 3 rookie. This is why we had to temper the expectations for Dameon Pierce, who was also a day 3 pick for the Houston Texans, because these guys don't generally just vault up to the top of the depth chart. It takes them time. So Algier out, Cordero Patterson, Damian Williams will be in line. Williams is somebody to keep your eye on for not particularly the matchup, but he might receive a whole lot of work that you weren't really projecting. At the wide receiver position, Mike Thomas. Michael Thomas is back for the Saints. That's good news. We haven't seen him in quite some time. We'll see now that he's a little bit older, does he still have it? Drake London for the Falcons. He will be making his rookie debut coming off of that injury. I mean, he had this, that sweet catch in the preseason, immediately got hurt. Glad to see that he is in. Jacoby Myers for the Patriots will play. Chris Godwin. He's expected to play, but he's on the snap count, the pitch count, whatever you want to call it. People get real mad about the pitch count, Brooks. And they're like, there's no pitching. It's football. We all understand that, but it's a terminology that you know exactly what people are saying. If someone says Chris Godwin could be on a pitch count, you know what that means. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, just let it go. Just let it go. But fantasy purposes here, I'm not playing Chris Godwin. Yeah, I mean you had to draft him kind of in that middle round because you're drafting him in anticipation that he will be back and he's going to make a huge impact. Because if Chris Godwin is healthy, where does he go? I mean, second round probably. So just enjoy your draft day discount. Have him on your bench. If in fact Chris Godwin has a monster game, that's great news. That is great news for your team. You did not miss out because the probability – well, I mean, yes, you technically missed out on the points, but the probability and the move with Chris Godwin is to have him on your bench. You can't play him unless you're in some sort of really deep, wacky league where you have no options. But, I mean, guys that should not be played over a healthy Chris Godwin I'm playing them like Christian Kirk of the Jaguars. I'm playing him easily over Chris Godwin. That's just how it is right now. Russell Gage is expected to play for the Buccaneers. All right, we'll see how that shakes out with the Chris Godwin situation. KJ Hamler of the Broncos is questionable. Alan Lazard is doubtful. Just mark him out. The Lazard stuff is so frustrating. Rondale Moore, Cardinals, out. Michael Gallup, we knew he was going to be out. And then Velus Jones Jr., rookie wide receiver of the Chicago Bears. He will not be making his debut. I'm going to be talking about that game in just a second. Logan Thomas is playing. Ertz is expected to play for the Cardinals. Robert Tonyan. This is one that I think is worth highlighting. Tonyan had the ACL tear back in whatever the Cardinals-Packer game, week 8 or so. It's really been like radio silence. I mean, you expect with all the other things that we're dealing with ACL injuries, who's going to be recovered when, and timelines and everything, it seemed like Robert Tonyan did not really have a strong chance to be ready to go. I mean, barely practicing during training camp. I mean, really shocking news. Not only is he active, no injury designation, no Alan Lazard. Other than Randall Cobb at the pass-catching position, I'm not talking about Aaron Jones. Other than Randall Cobb, who does Aaron Rodgers know on this team? Like, Robert Tonyan to me is low-key soup sneaky. I would be stashing him on my bench if I need that. Like, if I went late-round tight end, I got Njoku, who I still believe in, but you went late-round tight end. There's low probability that those guys are going to hit. Robert Tonyan on the back of your bench, I think, is a savvy move at this point. George Kittle of the 49ers will be out. Donald Parham Jr. of the Chargers, he is doubtful, so, I mean, he's going to be out. Gerald Everett looks like a decent play here with that touchdown upside. That's the ins and the outs. But now we get to talk about the rain. So there are 4 games in particular that should have at least some rain. We got the Pitt-Cincinnati game, Baltimore and the Jets, the Giants and Tennessee. Now, we're not expecting that the rain has a real hindrance on fantasy performances. Generally speaking, as long as it's not like a torrential downpour, rain doesn't really affect fantasy football output. These guys can play through it. However, the San Francisco-Chicago matchup, it was pouring. Now, the reports that I am seeing are that, again, I'm not in Chicago, so I can't just put my hand out the window and find out what's going on. But the reports are the heavy stuff is done. but there will be moderate rain. And if you've seen any of the videos on Twitter, that field was soaking wet. This is so disappointing for the big Week 1 matchup of Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Was incredibly excited for this, and now I'm like, I think you don't have a choice but to downgrade some of these guys. High-level players like Montgomery, I'm still playing him. Debo, of course, you are still playing him. Ayuk becomes without Kittle, he seemed like I want to get Ayuk in that lineup. You may have a better option now than Brandon Ayuk in the rain. So it's not changing everything for that particular matchup. That's not what I'm saying. But lower-level guys, I mean, you got to temper your expectations. I'm in the listener league. I have Darnell Mooney as one of my main wide receivers. I'm playing him, but I'm playing him knowing that I'm likely not getting that boom game from Darnell Mooney. Also in that matchup, Ty Davis-Price, third-round running back selection by Kyle Shanahan. Guess who's inactive? Yeah, the third-round running back. Meanwhile, Jordan Mason will be active. So classic Shanahan, and I do think that Jeff Wilson of the 49ers is someone like, if you're looking to stash players on your bench because you have some IR guys that you can move down, I think that Jeff Wilson is interesting. Let's see. He could have flex appeal as a third down running back and a goal line running back. Brooks, that was a lot of information for Week 1. Week 1 doesn't normally go like this, but it's the NFL. What are you going to do? Is the computer booted up and ready for our next segment? Okay. That's good.
He's so hot right now.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, thefantasyfootballers.com, that's where our rankings are right now. That's where they will be exclusively for the remainder of time. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they end up on, whatever. Thefantasyfootballers.com, we have a start-sit tool. Plug your players in, get your answer right there. If you are a kind and generous supporter of this podcast on jointhefoot.com, Weatherman. The Weatherman got me. That down there. If you support the show, you get a whole bunch of cool perks, like an extra podcast every week. If you're in the certain tiers, get the injury podcast or injury blitz from Matthew Betts, a whole bunch of tools. And one of the tools you get is the start sit tool. Unlocks 4 players. So instead of the 2, boom, you get 4. So if that's something that floats your boat, check that out. But anyways, we gather that data so we can see who the trending players are, who the Foot Clan is having the toughest decisions with. So hit me, Brooks. Who's hot right now?
All right, Mike, you got to choose between a Jason, my guy, and an Andy, my guy.
Oh, fantastic.
Chase Edmonds versus the Patriots, or A.J. Dillon at Minnesota.
All right. Oh, man. So Aaron Jones clearly gets the bump up with Allen Lazard out. With the number one option, we don't know who it will be for the Green Bay Packers this week. Like I said, Tunyon, interesting to stash. The Lizard King, we know what's going to happen. We know, Brooks, we know what's going to happen with the Lizard King. Is he on the – thank you. We know what's going to – we know. I can't recommend with a good clean heart to play him, but you know what's going to happen. But anyways, Aaron Jones gets the bump up. I do believe that A.J. Dillon also gets a slight bump up. He's a delightful pass catcher. People don't realize this. Go look at his targets to reception ratio. I mean, his catch percentage was extremely high. He's got great hands for a dude that's the size and speed of Derrick Henry. Chase Edmonds against the Pats at home. Oh man, if it is a full PPR, I would probably play Chase Edmonds in this particular matchup. But I do really like A.J. Dillon. I mean, this is in week 1, a running back that I drafted in the 5th round versus the 8th round. And I know that we all over the offseason said Chase Edmonds is a screaming value there. Probably shouldn't be an 8th round pick. But it's still not 100% clear what the Raheem Mostert and the Chase Edmonds split is going to be. So for that reason, I feel confident that A.J. Dillon in this matchup is going to be the better play. And that's where I would go. Who's next?
Would you play A.J. Dillon over the new hotness Dameon Pierce versus the Colts?
Yes, I would. I got Dameon Pierce down outside of my top 24. I am excited for Dameon Pierce. I'm so frustrated with the conversation of Dameon Pierce. I'm excited. I think he's going to be a good player. But the Texans are still a bad team. Rex Burkhead, again, with the split, you don't know what it's going to be. And if they're trailing and Dameon Pierce is just booted off the field in lieu of Rex Burkhead, that won't surprise me in the slightest. So with that matchup against the Colts, I think the Colts are going to handle the Texans pretty well. I'm not saying it's going to be, 24-0, but I think that the Texans will be losing and trying to catch up for the second half of the game. And because of that, he would be on my bench compared to A.J. Dillon. Like, Pierce is not a terrible play this week, but A.J. Dillon is a better option to me. Who's next?
All right, let's go back to Chase Edmonds. He's definitely the most asked about player. So
because of the groin.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, he's probably not on groinindex.com though.
No, not anymore.
So.
No, that thing can almost. It's almost a minority report where groinindex.com just knows. It knows when someone's groin's gonna go. We don't. It's the website.
George Kittle's right there at the top of that one. So
yeah, he is. All right.
Chase Edmonds or Rashad Penny versus the Broncos on Monday night.
All right. So Chase Edmonds or Rashad Penny. Is that what you said? Sorry, I'm trying to get my clock going.
Yes, sir.
I do not believe Kenneth Walker is going to play, and if somehow he is active, I would expect like Cam Akers type of a treatment for him, just a handful of snaps. Oh, man. Rashad Penny, the end of last year, was so good. You can look at the box score, and there, like, for the most part, there is a trend. When he played against a very stout run defense, like the Rams, like San Francisco, he didn't really have a good game. And then you play against like the Lions. I think that was one of those teams that he had the big game against, and just like it wasn't just the matchup because Rashad Penny's a good player, but I'm saying the matchup really factored into the games where you could see that Rashad Penny was going to have a monster game. I personally believe that the Denver Broncos are a Super Bowl contending team. A lot of it because their defense is so good. I mean, defenses change year to year. No one could have foreseen what happened to the Baltimore Ravens last year. No one could have seen what happened to the Washington Commanders last year. I mean, that was a collapse of epic proportions. So could that happen? Sure. But the way I'm moving forward with week one is that the Denver Broncos are a great defense until they prove to me that they aren't. So if you're in a half point or a full point PPR, I'm going with Chase Edmonds. If you're in a standard league, I'm okay making the move over to Penny because Penny's going to get a bunch of work. Most likely to get a goal line carry will be Rashad Penny. You hope it's Chase Edmonds once they get inside the 5, but it could be Raheem Mostert. It could be someone else. We aren't exactly sure for the Dolphins just yet. So I'm going to let the scoring format's going to make my decision there. Who we got?
All right, one more running back to throw in the mix. A lot of people asking about Breece Hall.
Oh, man.
So how do you compare him to some of these guys like Chase Edmonds or even Dameon Pierce in week 1? He's against the Ravens, Breece Hall.
Yeah.
Or Breece Lightning?
Yeah, so Breece Hall is so difficult because I've gone to the draft day argument of I drafted Dillon over Chase, so I'm playing him that way. You had your hand was forced. If you wanted Breece Hall on your team, your hand was forced. You had to take him right in the middle of that dead zone. And then we're getting Brooks. Do you see the Michael Carter is the heartbeat? Oh, man. That's not good. That is terrifying. I mean, you got to wait until the Jets are a zombie, I guess, because then Michael Carter can no longer be the heartbeat. Harder? I don't. No. We'll scratch that. Not that one. I'll workshop that. In my free time. I am terrified of Breece Hall. Go look at the props of that the sports books are talking about of rushing yardage of Carter versus Breece Hall. They don't know what to do with Breece Hall. So if you got Edmonds, I would play him above Breece Hall. Rashad Penny, I would play him above Breece Hall. Oh man.
What about Dameon Pierce, Mike?
I would play Dameon Pierce above Breece Hall this week. I am just waiting for Jason to drop down from the rafters and take me out Navy SEAL style. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't like the position that I have been put in with the Jets tomfoolery out there. Let's get it together, Jets. Michael Carter's a fine player. Breece Hall is a potentially special player. Look what they're doing with Garrett Wilson, man. He's not going to be a starter. I think it was a top 10 pick. What are you doing? Get these players on the field. Win the game. Goodness gracious. All right. What do we got else? Or is that it, or are we going to the people?
Let's go to the people.
Stardom, set 'em.
All right. Delivery boy wants to know. Wait. Oh, crap. I lost. Oh, here we go. Dameon Pierce or Brandon Ayuk. Now, there's a situation where Brandon Ayuk is lower tiered enough for where I'm going to start the season out with. I know that the reports on him were glowing over the offseason. They were last year as well. And just a little snippet for Ayuk. My answer is Dameon Pierce, but I just want to throw this out. I had jumped on a stream with the guys over at CBS. They do their draftathon, raising money for St. Jude. Debo was there, which I didn't know he was going to be there. So I'm like, oh, hello, Mr. Debo. Thank you. But he said, you can't cover Brandon Ayuk in a phone booth right now. I know they're teammates, and he's going to dap up his guy, but Debo seems to confirm the reports that we're getting out of San Francisco, so that's very interesting. Let's see. Oh, people kind of want to know about Ertz. Albert wants to know Robert Tonyan or Zach Ertz. I am still going to play Zach Ertz over Robert Tonyan. I know he doesn't have an injury designation, speaking to Tonyan of the Green Bay Packers, but he's still coming off of that ACL. Versus Zach Ertz, who's coming off of his own injury because everybody got hurt. I don't know what the NFL players are doing before week 1. Out there, riding horses and go-karts and, doing a bunch of dangerous stuff or something. Just sit on the couch. Join the rest of America. But Zach Ertz he's going to be out there. It's going to be gross. You're going to get, 6 receptions for, 45 yards, but if you're in a half or a full PPR, that's delightful. Robert Tonyan has a better chance of scoring a touchdown, in my opinion. But Zach Ertz, I think, has the higher probability of finishing with more points by the end of the week. Keith wants to know Trey Lance or Jameis Winston. So I will say for my Dynasty League, our footballers one, I had Trey Lance locked and loaded. We're so ready. And I put Kirk Cousins in over him. And funny enough, I have Jameis Winston on that team, so I chose Kirk Cousins over Jameis Winston. I'm guessing you don't have that option. Take this up to the wire because we're about to wrap up the show. Get as many weather reports as you can. This is just a good hot tip. So on Twitter, there are lists out there of beat reporters. I follow one that was set up by friend John Paulson over at 4 for 4. He set it up, and it's just a whole bunch of NFL beat reporters. Go follow that list. Sunday morning, jump in that thing, and you're going to have your Twitter feed there will be just news about what is going on in the NFL. That's a real hot tip for you. Trey Lance or going all the way down to Jameis Winston. I'm going to stick with Trey Lance in that one. It's very close because I have Trey Lance at 15 right now, Jameis at 17, so that is super close. But, oh, man. That sucks what's going on in Chicago. Evan says Chris Godwin or Amari Cooper. You got to go with Amari Cooper in that situation. Nathan says Zeke, Amon-Ra, or DJ Moore in a full PPR. I'm going with Amon-Ra in that one. Against the Eagles, they're going to have to throw a lot. And PPR, man. Ride with the Amon-Ra, the sun god up there. We got Red Hood, Ayuk or Mooney. So we cannot escape the rain. So I will go with the wide receiver 1 there. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney. Moving along here. We're a little bit over time, but we'll just try and get a couple questions here. Code W, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Dameon Pierce. I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You got the highest over-under of the week with the Kansas City Chiefs. Hope for a touchdown and hope that he truly is the number 1 in there. Someone said Michael Thomas or Brandon Cooks. I would go with Brandon Cooks. Let Michael Thomas show you that he truly is back. And Brandon Cooks is just, he's a good option each and every week. Derek Crawford, Hunter Renfrow or Cordarrelle Patterson. That's a very difficult one. Personally, I would go with Hunter Renfrow. And then we're going to get out on this question here. Adam Sutton, Mike Davis or Sammy Watkins in a PPR. You got to get cold-blooded. I didn't really touch on that situation, but Mike Davis for the Baltimore Ravens, he should be the main guy. But Rap Sheet, just a couple days ago, he was talking about the situation of if Dobbins is out, and he threw out a Kenyon Drake brought in as the nominal starter or like some language like that involved the word starter. Was like, wait, what? Kenyon Drake? I mean, look, both Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake are way past their prime, but it would be shocking if Kenyon Drake, just on the team, brand new, somehow is the starter. But crazy stuff happens in the NFL. So my confidence in Mike Davis was a little bit shooketh. I'm still starting him over Kenyon Drake, but I got my antennae are up there. So you got to go with the Lizard King in full point PPR. That is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you nothing but the best. I wish your enemies nothing but the worst. We will see you tomorrow on the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. And remember, keep it beautiful. Mwah. Goodbye. Goodbye.